we have a little bit of breaking news, and it's not the fun kind, especially if you are one Malik Beasley. Shams Charania of ESPN tweeted just a couple of minutes ago that the U.S. District Attorney's Office is investigating Detroit Pistons guard Malik Beasley on allegations of gambling related to NBA games and prop bets, sources tell ESPN. So this is a serious development surrounding one of the NBA free agents and a guy, Jared, that was about to get $42 million allegedly from the Detroit Pistons. The word on the street was that he was going to get a 3-year, $42 million deal. And then pending this investigation, that goes completely up in smoke.
Insane. It is very fair to make the assessment now that the NBA of all the professional sports leagues has the biggest issue here. I haven't heard of any NHL players doing this. Major League Baseball, you've had a couple of isolated incidents. The Marcado kid, who was like a very, low-level player, got popped last year. You have the Ohtani stuff, but that wasn't Ohtani betting, and it's been proven now that it was the interpreter that was going completely off the rails. The NBA, you've now had Jonte Porter, Terry Rozier, and now Malik Beasley all in the last 2 years.
Right.
So that's 3. I don't want to call Porter a high-level player, but he was a player on a team where he got playing time.
His brother was high level, so you have that tie there. If you know his brother, so you know him.
Absolutely. And he was betting on himself, which is like the worst thing you could do. Like, I can even make the assessment that if you're not playing and you're betting on other teams, it's not as bad as if you're betting on yourself to do or not, in this case, not do something. And that was why the Porter stuff was so bad. Rozier, same thing. And now we have, and again, we don't know what Malik Beasley was betting on. Maybe he was gambling on, ping pong. Who knows? I hope that's the case. I hope we don't have he's betting unders of his own prop scenario. But when you go back to the playoffs and you watch how bad he was in that series against the Knicks.
Well, maybe.
I mean, maybe now we've got to do a little more digging on those games. But you've got a situation brewing now where the NBA is becoming the black eye of all of the leagues when it comes to gambling scandals. Because we've had 3, I'll call them significant, prominent players in the last year plus that have all been under investigation, and that's significantly more than any other league. The NFL had the one situation with Calvin Ridley. He was gambling on other things, not football. To me, I think the NBA's got a real issue here that they've got to weed out.
So the NFL had Calvin Ridley, and he was confirmed away from the team. Like, he was going through something with Atlanta. He was confirmed away from the team. I think he wrote in the Players Tribune that there were some bets on the Falcons, but he was rooting for his team to win, not rooting for his team to lose, betting for his team to win. And then you had, a couple of years ago, there was the NFL players that were gambling on basketball, but they were doing it on team facility properties, which is against NFL rules and regulation. And the biggest notable name out of that one was Jameson Williams, and that was a 6-game suspension, that was pretty much it. But if this is because the allegation here from the USDA office is that this was on NBA games and prop bets. We know that Jonte Porter in particular, we have pretty good information on what his situation was, and it was awful. I mean, the guy was taking himself out of games that he bet on. The attorney for Beasley put out a statement. I find this to be interesting. An investigation is not a charge. This is a quote. An investigation is not a charge. Malik is afforded the same right of the presumption of innocence as anyone else under the U.S. Constitution. As of now, he has not been charged with anything. End quote. I don't necessarily know how to take that, but that was the first. When I read this, I was like, that is not him saying no. That is him just saying he is not guilty yet. I feel like that's a pretty bad spot to be in if your attorney is saying, hey, he hasn't been charged yet.
Wow. I think that is – I think that to me is the biggest issue. And I have – so a professional gambler who is very prominent in the industry just texted me. He said, NBA players are the worst. They hate paying their debts. And again, I think that – I mean, it could be – and that's just a text from, a very prominent gambler who I think is very plugged in to the space. I do think the NBA has a problem here.
I think
like
the NBA,
again, based on my assessment, I think the NFL has cleaned this up. Major League Baseball has always had an issue with gambling, with the Pete Rose stuff. Baseball players are less apt to bet than I think any other athlete, frankly. We haven't heard a peep. I mean, I could be wrong, but we haven't heard a peep of any NHL players doing this. It seems like the NBA has an issue here, and it's clearly going to be investigated. I am fascinated to see the results of this investigation.